Alright, hello YouTube. Hello Typology YouTube, more specifically. I'm just going to make a quick video, I thought, about my thoughts on a very specific manifestation of extroverted feeling. I think, because I think law school, or law, or government, or politics might be a good example of extroverted feeling. Um, a lot of people talk about extroverted feeling as social norms. Like, what are laws? Laws are just codified social norms that we all, I mean, they're just like social norms on steroids, essentially. They're social norms that people implement and follow, like, on an explicit level. Um, that's pretty much the main gist of it. I mean, yeah, this isn't a super developed argument because I'm not really breaking down the metabolism or cognition of FE, but I'm just saying, based on stereotypes, that does make sense. If we're working with stereotypes for the functions, I mean, there is another level to it in the sense of like the judging functions being should or normative statements. Normative statements being like a somewhat philosophical term that means like this is what you should do, this is how things should be, as opposed to positive statements, which are like these are how things, this is how things are, this is how things are, I guess. So with FE being a rational function, it's saying not necessarily this is how things should be, but this is what you should do, this is what we should do as a society, because extroverted feeling is all about people, it's all about groups as opposed to the individual. So it's not about like what the individual ought to do independent of other people, it's how do people interact within the society in a constructive fashion. um, so if you look at it like that, I think law, politics, government, people who go to law school are probably have like FE as a as their primary, not necessarily function, but their primary judging function, maybe. Um, I have a friend who went to law school or is going to law school, and he also studied history in undergrad, so maybe that's like SI. Depends on how you classify history. If you do this is kind of like a stereotypical, I guess, interpretation of things, but if you look at it like that, then yeah, that's kind of SFJ territory, SI and FE. But I was thinking about this more, I guess, and and what I mean by that is like anytime you have a set of rules, I think that's a somebody spitting out a judging function. Anytime you have like even if you go to like I don't know if it's necessarily FE, but it might just be like if you have like a player's handbook for an RPG, or a rule book for a sport, you know, um, basketball refs probably some sort of I don't even know if I call it FE or T or TI or FI, but probably some sort of J lead because they're not actually playing the game. They're just saying, nope, you can't do that. Oh, that's okay. You can't do that. It's just normative statements about how things ought to be and what's prohibited and what's not prohibited, what's allowed, what's not allowed. Um, yes, more broadly, anytime you have like a should statement, I think um, it's a judgment or a rational function at play potentially. That's pretty much it. I guess the main takeaway is, the main takeaway still, I think, is like, I think law school, people who grow, because it's not like, and people might say like, oh, you can't like paint people into that's what typology does. It's not what it does. It's saying like, the point that I'm making with law school, the institution of law, the institution of law school is like a manifestation of FE on a societal level, because I don't think it's very coherent to think that, you know, FE only exists when people say certain things or people move certain ways or people write certain things on Facebook. I think if these functions are real, they have to actually manifest at multiple levels of analysis. I think that's the main point. And for what I'm seeing right now, I think FE, specifically when we're talking about FE as social norms, is not necessarily social hierarchies, but social norms and like what the norms of the social group are. Those are laws in the sense of like legislative sense or judicial sense laws. Um, Yeah, I guess that's about it. Thanks.